Hello, welcome to the latest episode of our podcast, Making Lean Fly. And I'm really happy on this edition to have three fantastic experts in value stream design. And we're going to talk to them about what is value stream design, why we need value stream design, and what are the benefits you can get out of value stream design. And then towards the end of it, for those of you interested in really making it happen, we'll be asking them to give you some tips on how you can get started or how you can do better in your value stream design. So I'm going to introduce the guests. We've basically got a regular on this show, Anthony Howarth, but we are also joined by one of our site directors from the Wellington GKN Aerospace site, Patrick Defebaugh, and we've also got Daniele Zoratti, our supply chain management expert, or guru, I should probably say. So we'll do a brief introduction to each of them. So let's start with our regular. Hi, Anthony. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Philip. Thanks for having me again.
And just give a brief introduction to yourself for the people listening who maybe not heard you before.
Yeah, so I'm the global lean leader at GKN Aerospace. Been here for 3.5 years. Prior to that, I was in aerospace for 8.5 years. I was in automotive for 8.5 years with Honeywell, and consumer electronics and healthcare with Philips for just over 12 years.
Great, thanks very much, Anthony. Great to have you back. And Pat, how about yourself?
Thanks again, Philip. My name is Pat Defebaugh. I'm the site director for the Wellington site in Kansas. We are a large titanium and large aluminum machine shop here, complex aluminum and complex titanium. I've been with GKN for about 2.5 years. Much like Anthony, I worked at Honeywell for quite a while as well. Did a lot of lean work there as well, but I've been in manufacturing for about last 25 years, primarily doing lean for those 25 years as well.
That's great. Great to have you on the show, Pat. And I'll translate for people on this side of the pond. That's aluminium that they machine, and Pat, you can translate for me for people on your side of the pond. And Daniele, what about yourself? Welcome.
Hi, Philip. Thanks for having me. My name is Daniele Zoratti. I've been working for GKN for 4 years, roughly, and I'm the global business process owner for planning and scheduling currently. Prior to that, I've been working for a Japanese company, Komatsu, supply chain management or production control, all that. And prior to that, I've been working in Electrolux, different roles. Very background is manufacturing, but then moved to supply chain management.
Excellent. Welcome to the show, Daniele. It's great to have you on. Great. So let's jump in. I'm going to ask you in a little bit for some fun facts so that people can get to know you. But before we do that, let's talk about the meat and veg of this, which is, we're going to talk here about how value stream mapping is a common term in lean transformations, and many people are familiar with the approach. I'm sure that most of the listeners are familiar with value stream mapping, might have even been doing value stream mapping for many years. But we're specifically talking here about value stream design, which describes a broader, more strategic process, which is one of using the tool of value stream mapping, but ensuring that breakthroughs are designed from current to future state, and that there's a clear strategy for the value stream of the future. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions to our guests here, and I really want them to help us to understand this. So maybe, Anthony, let's start with you. What is value stream design, and what's the difference in your view between value stream design and value stream mapping?
Yeah, I think some people really think that value stream design or value stream mapping is about the map. And, in my experience, it's absolutely not about the map. It's really about the cross-functional teams end-to-end understanding of the value stream, and really where its constraints are that prevent value from flowing at the pull of the customer. So it really starts with understanding where we are today, where the constraints are, and where the decisions that are made impact other parts of the value stream. But then beyond that, it's really about the process. So once we understand exactly where we are today, what do we want the future to look like? And we do have to stretch our thinking and our imagination and, really look kind of 3 years out, where do we need to be, in order to be competitive? and support our customer. And that kind of like drives the thinking of where do we want to be, and that really should be done using a structured approach. But then in order to drive the sense of urgency, so for example, if we've got 3 years to implement something, if we don't start next week, it's probably not a big problem. But in fact it is. So to drive that sense of urgency, we're really wanting to design our future 6 months out. You know, what is it specifically that we need to do in the next 6 months to be able to achieve our 3-year vision and our 3-year strategy. So it's really not about the tool, not just about the tool of value stream map, and it's not just about the map. It's really about that togetherness, bringing the team together to understand where we are today and design the future together. And most importantly, understand what it will take to transform from the current state to the future state in terms of Kaizen events, Six Sigma projects, problem solving, etc.
Great. No, that's fantastic answer there, Anthony, as always. So Pat, why do we need value stream design? You know, you're a site director, you're a busy guy trying to get products out to the customer every day. So why do you need value stream design? What does it do for you?
Kind of tie on to what Anthony said. We try to change our site. We try to change our cost. We try to change the quality. What drives cost and quality probably more than anything else is that lead time of the value stream. How fast it goes through our facility. The longer it sits around, the more it costs. The longer it sits around, the more chance of damage we have. The more it sits around, the less space we have for other things. So when we look at the value stream design here, and kind of what Anthony said too, it's not about the maps. It's about that project list that going from current state to future state, it gives us a project list to go take action with. That's the most important thing to me, is that project list. And going back to Anthony said, we make a 6-month map, but I try to remind our team all the time, we don't have to wait 6 months to do the projects. We can start here next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, and get a good jump on our Kaizen events to start it. Because if we wait till 6 months, well, then we're going to be late. But the cycle time or value stream lead time reduction for us gives us a lot more capacity. It gives us a lot more space. And as we're going through a transition right now to move work in, we need space. We're out of space. One of our product lines, we went from 126 days lead time down to 25-day lead time in a value stream design and Kaizen event. That freed up almost $2 million worth of inventory, and it forced us to fix several quality issues along the way to be able to make that cycle time. Any quality issue we have is going to affect our cycle time. We used to run 45-piece batch sizes, and now we're down to 3 because that's the size that goes on the machine. All those things take up time and money that we don't have extra of at any given time, especially with reduced inventory goals, entitlement goals. The value stream design has allowed us to change all 9 of our largest value streams in the last year. Overall, we got about 59% reduction in lead time across all those 9 value streams, which gives us a lot more time, a lot more capacity on the equipment, and our cost has gone down just because the cycle time's gone down.
Oh, excellent. That's fantastic, Pat. And I mean, the why was very clear there, because it's the business benefit, right? It's the business impact, and who benefits from that? The customer, as well as the company that's doing it, in our case, GKN Aerospace. So that's fantastic. And Daniele, I'm really interested in your perspective, because obviously, you've done a lot of work on designing supply chains. And one of the things you're doing a great deal of work for with us is on inventory entitlement. So designing the value stream with the right kinds of inventory entitlement. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that. So give us that perspective on value stream design.
Yes. So value stream design to me, to Anthony's point earlier, means really the end-to-end value stream design, and that's where the inventory element takes really or enter into play or comes into play. So it is really much. Production planning is very much inventory planning. So the value stream design helps to understand where we do create value. So where we or we can eliminate waste on the other different angle to see the same thing. So it really let us know where to place the inventory in order to satisfy customer as per their requirement or as per their perceived or considered value. So that's where I see the value stream design very, very effective. Obviously, the key element is the more you design or the more you implement things, the common pitfall is always to not reflect those realities or physical conditions into your systems, into your ERPs. And that's another element many times overlooked during the design implementation. So we design, we implement, and we forget to update our system accordingly. So that's a common pitfall. So we have our systems do not reflecting what physically happens, which is a disconnect, and generally troubles come.
Yeah, I mean that you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there as well, Daniele. It's that kind of holistic view of how you do value stream design. So it's not just a value stream map with some great opportunities in the future. As Pat says, you've got to actually make those future a reality. You need to make the future the current. And then to your point, Daniele, you've got to make sure that your ERP system reflects that new reality, or else you're not going to get the benefit from it. What do you think about that, Pat? You know, you've done it in real life, and how much of a challenge has that been, making ERP reflect the new reality?
It affected us a lot. We were actually slow to make the ERP changes because not everybody believed it was sustainable. It was convincing our supply chain manager that the cycle time wasn't going to go back up. Inventory, the standard WIP was now set. It wasn't going to change based on volume or demand. So it took us a little while to catch up with our lead times in the system versus our lead times in reality. So early on, we were trying to release, again, worry more about ERP starts. Well, the system wasn't telling us to start. And so there was always a little bit of conflict between supply chain manager and the shop saying, well, we're late starting this. And the shop saying, we don't need to start this. And until we got those two things aligned, it was always a conflict of you're behind from starting. But, well, if we start in a week when we really need it, it'll still get done in 25 days. Right now, there's 35 days in the system. We take those other days out, we'll align things. So it's gotten a whole lot of eyes on events. Every single event, they believe in it a whole lot more now. We still lag a little bit in always changing it, but they're very well aligned, which shows up in our inventory entitlement as well. We're actually lowering a lot of our numbers in the ERP system now because we're well under our entitlement, which tells us we're still off in some of our calculations, but the entitlement model really shows us where we're off.
Yeah, that's, again, great example, Pat. I'm just picturing your supply chain director clicking his heels together and saying there's no place like home. That's what I always think of when I think of Kansas. But no, I mean, Anthony, I'd like you to come in at this point, because obviously I think this was quite a learning moment for you as well, wasn't it, working with Daniele and understanding the intricacies of getting the ERP matched up. So maybe you can share your experience on that.
Yeah, I guess the key learning for me, Philip, is that I don't think that I appreciated enough of how much the system is really running the business and running the value streams. It's really driving. It's driving all of the material in when the system says that it needs it based on lead times. Yeah, I just didn't appreciate how much the system was running the business rather than the people that I believed were really running the value stream. So yeah, for me there was a disconnect there, and yeah, teaming up with Daniele has been fantastic because he's got a different type and level of expertise when it comes to the things that for the last sort of 20 years have been invisible for me, which are the parameters in the system. So yeah, we've been working together for the last sort of 12 months on this, and I think we've both benefited really from each other's experience. But yeah, my learning is that it's the system that's really running the business, and And until the system is updated, very few things will actually change for the better.
Yeah, that's what I love. You know, you can always tell when somebody's a real lean master because they're always open to learn more. You know, you're probably the person who I would always go to facilitate a value stream design, because you're the best in the business as far as I'm concerned when it comes to that. Yet, you know, you'll openly hold your hands up and say, hey, I don't understand this ERP stuff well enough. Let's pull somebody in who really does. Let's partner up and let's make it happen. So that's fantastic. So I love that. And you know, that whole ERP system running the shop is the tail wagging the dog, in my view. You know, the complex computerized system as it is supposed to be supporting what we want to achieve, not dictating what we need to achieve, and that's where we've got to get that the right way around. So, you know, that's great learning. Right, we've been in the serious stuff for a little while now, so I always like to get a little bit of a fun fact about our guests. Now, I'm not going to ask Anthony again because he's already shared with us all sorts of stuff about crashing aeroplanes and driving tractors and so on. So let's find out a bit about Daniele and Pat. So Daniele, I already had a little bit of an insight because you were proudly seeing your daughter graduate last week, and I saw that fantastic photograph on LinkedIn of your lovely daughter graduating, which was fantastic to see, and a nice little personal moment of yours that you shared. But tell us a fun fact about yourself, something that maybe your work colleagues don't all know about you.
Well, you know, that daughter a few years ago made me aware of something apparently I was not aware of. So we were talking about patience, and she was about 15 or 16, and she said, well, everyone knows you're not patient. What? How is that possible? So I thought I was patient, right? So that was that was an interesting moment in my life, and it didn't happen a long time ago. So I can assure you I'm working on my patience. So I'm trying hard to become more patient, because apparently this is the general opinion that I'm not a patient person.
Oh, come on, Daniele. I always put it down to Italian passion. Come on, it's Italian passion. That's what it is. And what about yourself, Pat? What would people maybe not know about you?
This actually just came up here recently. A lot of people here, at least our site, we celebrate veterans here a lot. I was a veteran in the military many years ago, 30-some plus years ago. But while I was in, I was actually a UN peacekeeper in the Sinai Desert in Egypt, which sounds pretty cool. But one of the tasks I got tasked with was to be an open water lifeguard in the Red Sea. So while, again, it sounds like it was a dangerous tour, I was actually a lifeguard in the Red Sea, making sure none of the other soldiers drowned. So a little bit different tour when you hear about the UN peacekeepers, but I spent a lot of time at the beach. So
okay, so you're the David Hasselhoff of GKN. Yeah, I'm just Baywatch, Pat Baywatch. Great. Okay. Well, look, nice to get to know a little bit more about that. But let's get back to the subject then. So we've talked. You've already talked a little bit about the benefits of value stream design, Pat, and we'll ask you a bit more about that in a moment. But what about you, Anthony? What do you see as the key benefits of doing value stream design well?
Yeah, so for me, the future state value stream designs, it's really the improvement blueprint. It's that one central place where the entire value stream is represented, and all of the things that we need to do to transform into the future state, are listed. And I almost feel that, if anybody's working on something that's not driving us towards the future state, then we're probably working on the wrong thing. So one of the biggest benefits for me, Philip, is really being seen as that improvement blueprint, that true north, if you like, that everybody that works within that end-to-end value stream should be working towards driving to implementation.
Yeah, I like that. So I guess that maybe puts me onto something, Pat, I wanted to ask, because you talked about the financial or the business benefits. What about people engagement benefits, Pat? Do you see people more engaged when you've got the value stream design right?
Definitely here. Again, value stream mapping, value stream design has always been my favorite tool. One, you get to go learn about the product. We do a value stream map from the time we start it till the time it's finished. We've had machinists here working on the same part for 10, 12 years. They have no idea about the rest of the process. We learn so much about the rest of the process. We learn about 3 or 4 rework cycles in our outside processing world that we didn't even know existed. I learn something every time we go and do it, and it's just someone that asked a random question, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're going down a path we didn't even know existed. Typically, our value stream design teams and our Kaizen teams are the same people. We'll do value stream design with the experts of the process from start to finish. We try to bring in our outside processing companies as well as part of our team because they have a big part of our time. And then when we do the Kaizen events, those same people that came up with the plan to go from current state to the future state, it's their ideas. We look at the current state map and said, okay, we touched the product for 8 days. When we create our future state, well, we know we touch it for 8 days. What if we give every station 1 extra day? So now we're at 16 days. And every single time the team goes, well, we can do that. Even though it's taking us 100 days now, if I have an extra day at every station, I only touch it 8 days. Okay, 25 days seems very reasonable. We have people sometimes arguing for an even lower number. I'm really used to, operators saying I wanted to go faster. And so that engagement for the team to be able to come up with their own solution to take down the cycle time, to set their own standard WIP based on a little bit of training and guidelines, and then go do it, to go mark the floors where they want to mark it, to go clean the machines up or fix the quality issue that they've been fighting for a long time, to get the tools that they need because they say, I need this tool to do this job better. They get to make all those decisions, and we focus on that first set of Kaizen events on the low cost, no cost solutions. We're not going to spend a lot of money to do it. The 3-year plan may take capital and transitions and move and stuff, but that 6-month plan, 1-month plan, 2-month plan, that's the low cost, no cost solution that we can just go do it today and make a shadow board, get better tools, get different inspection tools that work a little bit better, get rid of the personal toolboxes with company tools. All those things that they have a say in really, really gets them engaged. And the value stream design, what is really what hooks them is, okay, we're 100 days now and I have all these frustrations. In the future, we're going to be 30 days. And all I've got to do is these 15 different actions and we're at 30 days. It doesn't seem like that big of a challenge anymore when you break it down into small little increments and they decide how they're going to lay out their facility and what tools they need. There's usually not a no unless it gets into the capital range, but most of the events we can do for a couple $1,000s and take our cycle time or lead time down by 50% in a matter of 2-3 months max.
Brilliant. That's brilliant example, Pat. Thank you. And Daniele, what from your perspective, what are the benefits you're seeing in the work that you're doing?
Well, I would like to build a little bit more on what Anthony said. So I think, as I said earlier, I envision the value stream design as an end-to-end value stream design. And when you do so, you get a chance to involve very different people in the process. So, for instance, external supply, you get to have to do with procurement or internal operations or with the customers, so programs or sales. So the cross-functionality of the process, I think, is value. And that brings different opinions, different angles, and sometimes, out of the box thinking, because somebody from sales may see things different with regards to the external supply. So, and that's really that's a process that enriches people and that brings value, not only monetary value, but even in terms of skills, perspectives, or understanding.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I really like that, Daniele. Excellent, thank you. So let's get towards the end of our conversation, but there's still a little bit to discuss, because I'd like to talk about success stories. I guess, Pat, you've already shared one, but maybe you've got more in your back pocket. Anthony, anything from your recent activities that you'd like to share in terms of applying value stream design?
I guess not. I've done this in lots of different regions of the world, in Brazil, in Argentina, with different kind of challenges, in China, in Indonesia, in India, in many parts of Europe. I guess for me, my reflection, I look back on my learning, and like I said earlier, I have made lots of mistakes with this, and I guess my reflection is that it has to be end to end. It has to be cross-functional. We don't want to be sub-optimizing certain points of the value stream. We've got to do it for the overall good of the value stream. It's got to be visual. It doesn't want to be done electronically. It needs to be visual. It needs to be that blueprint. I've tried building value stream maps with teams with post-it notes, and if you've tried that, the challenges that brings. The maps deteriorate very quickly. They look scruffy. The post-it notes drop on the floor. So one extreme is you try and do it like that. The opposite extreme to counteract that is to do it electronically, but that never seems to work very well. There's always that one person that creates the map in Excel or in Visio, doesn't want anybody else touching it. It's not easy to update. For me, the maps, they need to be dynamic. A current state map should always be current. And for me, current means it was updated within the last sort of 12 to 14 weeks. So your current state must always be current. The 6-month future state, that should never be more than 12 to 14 weeks out of date. And in terms of your 3-year vision, I imagine that really should be updated every year, and perhaps just before, the Hoshin Kanri cycle. And I guess, a lot of these, reflections and learnings have come from, not doing things well in the past. A lot of the lessons that I've learned, I've tended to learn them the hard way. So my advice really is, it's got to be visual. It's got to be the blueprint, end to end, developed, designed by the cross-functional team, by the people that do the work. And I guess the thing that we're probably not doing well enough right now for me across GK and aerospace is we tend to fall down a lot on the implementation. We're not fast enough. We don't have the rigor and discipline around the implementation of the Kaizen events, the Six Sigma projects, the problem solving. I know that's something that you do very well, Pat, and I wish that we could follow your lead in a lot of the other sites. But so some of my learnings, and I think something that we need to work on as we move forward, the speed of implementation.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, Anthony. And I met with Womack a few years ago when I worked for Philips at the Dracton Shaver facility. I managed to organise him to go visit there. And one of the things he said was, there's millions of current state maps in the world, but there's very few future state maps that become current state maps. And I think that's that's a truism. And I think that's a problem, if you want, that you find across many organizations. Now, I'm not a perfectionist in the sense that I don't expect that when you've built a 3-year future state that it would ever look exactly like that in 3 years' time, because we learn and course correct as we go. But it's that activity of moving forward and going towards it. And certainly your 6-month plan, as Pat said, should become reality. And you should start it the day after you've built that 6-month plan. I think what was very interesting, just to share with you three, because I've started this morning a review with the Langfang China facility, and it was really reassuring to see the work that they've done. So across all of their value streams, I think they said, I can't remember the number now, I think it was about 104 Kaizen events they've done to get to where they are at the moment, from the current to future state designs across the 3 key value streams. Phenomenal, really doing what they say they're going to do and doing it effectively with fantastic business results. And I think, along with Wellington and a couple of other of our sites. You know, they're at the vanguard of doing this well. So how do you do that, Pat? How do you make sure that your current states turn into future states? You know, what's the secret sauce?
Well, again, thanks, Anthony, for that nice comment you made earlier too. One thing that, again, as I get older, my memory is not that good. So if we go too far past the value stream mapping event, with how busy we all are, just remembering what we want to get done, how we want to get done, what we want to get, and how we want to do it. We had a little problem at the end of last year. We did the Kaizen or a value stream map at the beginning of December. The holidays came. January was busy. We didn't do the first set of Kaizen events till February. It was the worst set of Kaizen events that we had all year. We had lost too much in the holiday time period of what we want to do. We lost momentum. We lost the passion about it. So as you guys know, we have Debbie Mold here, which is a fantastic taskmaster for us. We've changed the very last day of the value stream mapping. When we're done with the map, we all agree to it. This is what we're going to do. The very next step we do is we make our Kaizen charters at that point. We have the team there. We have the list of projects we're going to do. We go ahead and make a 4-week charter, because 4 weeks later, we want to do at least 3 Kaizen events, one in the machine shop, one in the deburr area, and one in the after deburr, including outside processing. So shipping, receiving, in the outside processing. We plan all 3 of them right then. And so we typically do value stream mapping the first week of the month, and the very last of the week of the month, we're going to do the Kaizen events because it's still fresh in our mind. We've got 3 weeks to do all the planning, 3 weeks to buy supplies for shadow boards, 3 weeks to go order tools if we're going to need more tools, because those all came out of that project list from current state to future state. We know what we need. We just need to go do it. What we've learned is if we take too much time, we lose momentum. We lose the fire. Now, we still have a 30, 60, 90-day plan after that Kaizen event, because we won't get it all done. But we can get a large part of it done. We can get standard whip set. We can get the machine cleaned up. We can get meetings with our outside processors to understand their process, what works best for them, what works best for us. We can do all those tasks in that 30 days to get ready for the Kaizen event. We do the Kaizen event, and then it's 30, 69 days. That newspaper is all we have to manage now. We don't have to try to manage all the future Kaizen events, plan time for them, make sure the schedule fits. We do that at the day of the value stream mapping, at the last day, and it became much, much easier for us because we still have the passion and the fire about that project, because we just did it. And now we got 30 days to get ready to do it some more. After 2 months, we've just learned here, at least in Wellington, we've kind of lost the passion a little bit, and it's hard to get everybody scheduled again. Now we got vacations interrupted, got a holiday coming up, so we're going to move it another week. One, Debbie doesn't let us move it, and 2, it's fresh in our mind, and we usually do one event at a time, then move on to another product. We typically don't do 2 value stream maps in the same month, just because we can focus on one thing and get it done and do it really well, then move on to the next while the team's left, to work on that 30, 60, 90-day plan.
That's excellent, Pat. And just that getting it done and the fulfillment that people must feel, the feeling of success, the motivation. It's a little bit like being a student, isn't it? If you put it off too long, it just becomes impossible to get it started. Whereas if you just get stuck in, like you say, with adequate planning, you do your 4-week prep cycle, you get prepared, but then you do it and you get the success, and that's fantastic. So thanks for sharing that, Pat. So Daniele, let's finish off with you. What advice would you give to someone who wants to apply the power of value stream design?
Well, I think value stream design is essential to create inventory strategy. And as I said, inventory, the proper inventory planning is the proper production planning, right? So I would say for doing that, you need to start from the customer. So understand the voice of the customer. That's the first thing. Keep it live, as Anthony said. So that should be very much linked to your daily management and very much linked to your Hoshin Kanri, so breakthrough objectives or strategic objectives as well. And ultimately reflect that into your ERPs. So that's that would be the advice I would give as milestones or essential points to deploy properly value stream design.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Daniele. And I'm glad you mentioned inventory just as we're closing there, because I sometimes don't feel that it's treated as it really should be. It's an investment of the company's working capital in an amount of product, whether it be raw materials, work in progress, or finished goods, to adequately satisfy the customer demand. And that investment needs to be managed well. And that's essentially what you're talking about here, Daniele, isn't it? Designing a value stream that manages that investment in a proper way.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Well, listen, we're about up on time. So I'd like to thank Anthony, Pat, and Daniele. It's been incredibly good talking to you. I've really enjoyed it. Lots of words of wisdom, as always, from the three of you. So thank you for that. And to our listeners, there'll be more shows ahead. And remember, it's about changing how you lead, not who you are.